Hello, welcome to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. This is the new season. Ta-da! As you can see, I have a new piece of equipment. I don't know if this is going to stay or not. We'll give it a try. See if it works. It might be in my way. I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe I'll switch to like a table mount or something. We'll see. I have some new decor here. This is a 1970s black light poster. And I wanted to actually have a black light shining on it, but that didn't, at least so far, that hasn't worked out, but maybe in the future. And my mom's old lamp is now on. Hopefully it won't burn down the basement. It has a really bad 50-year-old electrical cord with tape on it. Yikes. I'm not sure. I think this might have come from Egypt. I'm not sure. But it definitely dates back to the 60s. Maybe it's US. I don't know, but it's from the 60s. And it's in 50, 60-year-old condition. So I'm just crossing my fingers that the whole basement just doesn't go up in a blaze. But that would be a good episode. That would make for... this isn't television, but to use an expression, that would make for good television. If I were to go up in flames, be an inferno, I think that would get a lot of views, a lot of clicks. Probably would get at least 100,000 views if I were, in flames. Only thing is, I'd have to survive to upload the video. So there's a little glitch in the plan. But with some luck, it won't catch on fire. Oh, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I got a little shock monster thing here. Got my childhood AI creature. That is the one from my childhood. That's my buddy, who's been with me for many decades. He's been around the world. He's been to Egypt. He's been all over the place. My good friend, the AI creature. He's lost all his paint because he was well loved and well played with. And this arm, the joint is broken. And I had to patch it up 20 years ago. It's not a recent thing, many, many years ago. So I'm not going to move that around. But he's still here, and he's still kicking. He still looks nice. He's a loved, played-with toy. I would put him, in my pocket when I went to school. He'd be in my pocket, my coat pocket, shirt pocket. He'd be in my lunch box. I'd open my lunch box. We had actual metal lunch boxes. I would open the box for lunch, and he'd be in there. Not to eat. No, I'm not going to eat him. Just, as a buddy to have lunch with me. I take him out on recess. And yes, I definitely took him to bed. When it was time for bed, he would be sleeping with me, along with some other monsters. And speaking of things that would sleep with me, we'll set him down here. Okay. This is my childhood alien. That's a Kenner alien. He's too big for this camera. But that is my childhood alien. And he was too big to take to school. But he also ended up as a bedtime buddy, believe it or not. This big, clunky, pointy thing. I would tuck him into bed. I would put his head on the pillow and put the blankets up over him like he was going night-night, and I would sleep with him. So he's another childhood buddy. On this doll stand, it's a little awkward for him. He's kind of leaning back, but that's okay. And I'm sure that this arm would fall off if I messed with it too much. He still has his jaw action. So his jaws still work, and he has both of his inner jaws, and he has his outer shell because as a kid I glued it on. He was always hanging upside down from his tail because that's what the alien does. He would hang upside down from something. When another toy would come underneath, he would grab it, and his shell would keep falling off. Well, I didn't like that, so I finally just glued it on, and it's still on there. And yeah, he still has all of his back, whatever you call those, appendages, tentacles, whatever they are. I thought maybe I glued this one on, but no, it's not glued on, it's just snapped on. But I'm sure his inner rubber bands must be just rotted. And you can see how loose that arm is. So if I moved him around a lot, it would probably just fall off. So if you've got a loose alien, chances are it's just a matter of time before the arms fall off. If he's in a box and he's kind of strapped in there and he's not going anywhere, but if he's loose, you probably need to take them apart and replace those bands. Get some O-rings from the hardware store. And this is an interesting piece. This is modern. This is a latex bust made by Mortar Heads. And that's an independent mask company that makes a lot of different kinds of masks and busts. And this is obviously based on the Remco mini monster Wolfman figure, the 3 1/4 inch Wolfman figure. And eventually we will have a Remco episode, and then we'll have the little figure next to this one we can compare. And he also makes a replica of the little creature head. So little Remco 3 3/4 inch creature. He makes a blow-up size version of that. I'm sure he's planning other blow-up versions of those characters. He makes busts of Star Wars figures too. Like he's got a really cool Greedo and a Hammerhead and a Walrus Man. They're all blown up versions of the 3 3/4 inch figures. So they're not trying to capture the movie character. They're trying to capture the little toys and just in a bigger size. And he doesn't use like 3D scanning or anything like that. He sculpts these things. So a very good artist, very creative, and I was very happy to add this to my collection. Let's just put it over here without knocking anything over. And of course this is just the same old Godzilla that I had last season. And you might see different things up there as time goes by. We'll see how it goes. Put my little creature back. And I'll examine this in editing and see if you can even see these things. I don't know, things might have to get moved around a little bit. Okay, so we're in October. Yay! My favorite time of year. It's officially Halloween month. It's not October, it's the month of Halloween. So October 1st is Halloween the 1st. And October 2nd is Halloween 2nd, and so on. And so now we're in the first week of Halloween. And by the time you see this, it'll be the second week of Halloween. And I thought for the first few episodes, I ought to focus on Halloween-related stuff. And a friend of mine suggested doing a Ben Cooper episode, and I might do that. But I've got, like maybe 100 Ben Cooper and Collegeville boxed costumes. I've got a lot of those things, and I don't even know how I would even begin to show you all of those. But I'm going to work on that, and that is something that I think I will probably do in the near future. But I want to keep things manageable. So to start off, we're going to keep things real simple, but in the same Halloween vein. And what I thought I would show you is this. This is a Collegeville costume from the Spooky Spook set. And let's open this up. That's what the mask looks like. I don't think I want to take the costume out. Sometimes with these costumes, if you unfold them, they crack. So I'm really careful about that. And especially this one looks like maybe it's never been unfolded before. So you can see the colors there. So I don't know that I really want to take that out. I've had that experience in the past where I've removed a costume from these boxes, and it just, the act of unfolding it damages it. So I don't want to do that. Let's put this back. And it's got its cellophane still. And already just taking the mask out of that box, and now it didn't quite go back in the same way. So that's always the problem with it. Yeah, see, now it's pushing on the cellophane. I'll deal with that later. That's the thing with these. If they're unused, well, the way they put these in at the factory, they had a way of just, there was no space to spare. They folded those costumes flat and put the mask in there, and it was just enough room to get the mask in there and get the box shut. And once you take it out and try to put it back in again, it just never quite goes back in. And I'm not, that this mask, for all I know, may never have been out of that box before. But you can see he's the mummy, not a universal mummy, a generic mummy. But the reason we're looking at this particular mummy, I have some special things in my collection that pertain to this mummy. First, let's look at, just to put it in context, some other pieces from that set. And I don't have the entire set. That's another Spooky Spooks. That's a skull. Here's a Frankenstein. Here's a gorilla. Kind of a funny looking gorilla. Here's a witch. And there are some others. And I may have some more in another box somewhere. There's a very classic Frankenstein that Collegeville released in several different boxes, including this one. And I thought I had that, and I probably do have that. It's just in a different box. But I just wanted to put this one in context. That's why I showed you those. So it's from that series. And I'm not sure what year this is, but it's probably late 70s, thereabouts. It could be early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. So the reason I'm showing you that one, first of all, where did that design come from? Well, it came from this. This is a Fun Dimensions haunted glowhead mummy model kit from the 1970s. These have been reissued, but this is an original. And you can see it's obviously the same face. Now let's open this up. And I built and painted this myself. And this is a built-up, painted example of this model kit. This is what it looks like when you build it and paint it. So you can see how this model kit, in all likelihood, inspired that Collegeville costume, because I'm pretty sure the model kit came first. It's earlier. I don't know if there's a date on here. I think it's like 75, 76. Looks like 75. I can't quite read that. Could be wrong. I think it says 75. My eyesight's not that great. So I know that's earlier than the costume. So I'm sure that they were inspired by this model kit. Okay, well, that's very interesting. That's still not why we're looking at this, though. I have something interesting in here. Okay, this, let me get this out of here without destroying it. I don't even want to touch this with my fingers. I want to like wash my hands before I touch it because it's very pristine for reasons I will tell you in a second. Okay, this is a Collegeville, I believe, a Collegeville production sample before this went into production. It does have staples in it, but I don't think there was ever a rubber band in this mask. And this came from a find of Collegeville production material. There were design sketches and prototype masks and unpunched early samples and all kinds of stuff. And this came from that find. I got a couple things from that find. This was one of the things I got because I liked the character design because of its relation to the model kit and so on. So this was never in a box. This was never sold to a kid. This is a production example showing like what the finished product would look like. And it, as far as I've never really compared them side by side. I guess you would think I would have. I don't see any differences. Am I going to take this out again? Yes. Okay. All right, so you can tell this one's all mangled and split and everything because it's been in that box. This one's perfect because it has not been in a box. It's never been in anything. So there they are. This is the production example. This is the one that was actually sold in stores. It's got the rubber band. This is the one that was never circulated. And there's no rubber band. It never was a rubber band. And it's perfect and crisp in every way. You know, it's absolutely pristine. So, we're still not done. That's interesting, isn't it? I hope so. A little bit, maybe. Not really. I don't know. But that's not why we're looking at this. Here we go. I can get this out of here without destroying it. It's always a challenge to not destroy my toys. And it's going to put up a fight. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay. This is the original hand-drawn pre-production concept design sketch from which this mask was made. So this was the original hand-drawn sketch. This was the original sketch that was used to either pitch this mask, like at a meeting to decide what mask they were going to make. Maybe this was used to pitch it, but it doesn't look like something used to pitch it. It looks like it was used to design what the mask was going to look like. Like they'd already decided to make it, and then this was a step in the process in designing the mask. Now, this is not the actual drawing that they used to print on the plastic to make this. No, this was a step before that. This was a preliminary step. And then from this, they would have painted the final, more professional, slick-looking version that would have been printed onto the plastic used to make the mask. And the way they make a vacuum-formed mask is they have sheets of plastic, thin plastic, and they actually print the face, the designs on that plastic. And then they have a mold in the shape of the mask. And I think the mold's made of metal, and it has little holes in it. And they'll have a vacuum forming machine, and usually there's multiple masks at the one time. It's not one mask at a time. It's multiple masks at the same time, I believe, or at least ordinarily that's what's done. And they put this sheet of plastic in there that has the mask faces all printed on it. And it's kind of like a big waffle maker. They close it's got like a big lid, and they close it, and it heats up that plastic sheet, and it melts or softens up, and then there's a suction underneath that comes through the holes in the mold, in the metal mold, the positive mold, and that sucks up the softened plastic into the shape of the mask face, and then they lift it up, and then they have to trim it, and I'm pretty sure it's die cut. They probably punch it. I don't think they do scissors. Maybe they used to in ye olden days, but later I'm sure they had some kind of die cut machine, and where they cut it out and punch the eyes out. So that's how Topstone, which is a company I've done a lot of research on, that's how Topstone made their vacuum form masks. I assume it was a similar process for most companies, but that's how they did it. And there are people today that make modern vacuum form masks, and you can buy a vacuum forming machine, a little one, like for hobby purposes, and you can make your own vacuum form masks. There are probably large format printers where you could print the design on the plastic and then put it in the machine. The people who do it like as independent artists today, I don't know if they do it at home like that, or if they send it out to China, or it's probably different depending on the company. But there are independent artists today that make vacuum formed masks. So it's not a lost art. It's still being done. It's actually gone through a revival. It was gone for a long time, and then a few companies now are. Some smaller and some larger companies are making vacuum form masks again. Just in the last couple of years, it's kind of making a comeback, but not for kids, for adult collectors. It would be cool to see it make a comeback for kids. There are still vacuum formed masks for kids. I have seen them in stores, so it's not completely gone. It's just not what it once was, where in the 50s, 60s, 70s, into I guess really through the 80s, it was the big thing on Halloween. Every kid wore a mask like this. So I think that's pretty cool. We got this production sketch, probably preliminary before the final one was done, hand-drawn from the Collegeville archives, uncirculated production example, showing what the finished product looked like. And we've got actual store-bought one. This is, would have been shipped to a store, but I don't think this has ever been used. And then we've got this model that I'm sure is what the mask was based on. Unauthorized, I'm sure. So that is a nice little collection of items related to one mask, showing the steps in the process from the inspiration to the design to production sample to actual retail production example. Not a sample, but an example of actual retail item. Okay. I have something else to show that's kind of similar to this. Let's put these away maybe as best we can without destroying everything. All right, let's put this. See, I have little compartments now. So I can put these things over here and then clean it up later. Okay, I think I'll put this in here. I'll put you right here. Okay, still with me? Hope so. All right, so here's another interesting item. Now we're going to go to Ben Cooper, the biggest name in Halloween costumes, the most famous one. And I think I will remove this from its protective bag to show it to you. There we go. Okay. This is an Astro Spook in the box. The box actually says Space Spook. It doesn't say Astro Spook. The cellophane is missing. I probably ought to, just to protect it, I ought to put some replacement cellophane in there. So here is the NASA Astro Spook mask. It says NASA Astro Spook on it. And this one, the rubber band is broken. It's still there, but it's broken. And it's got like a piece of tape here. I don't know if that's original. Yeah, it is, because it was a tag. I can see there's printing on it. So there was this was tagged, and someone tore the tag off. And it used to have a little whistle, kind of like a little kazoo, because this was a hoot and toot version. It had like a little kazoo. I makes a noise of some kind. I don't know. I've never tried it, and it's fallen out. I think all the hoot and toot masks have the same piece, so possibly I could buy another hoot and toot and replace that. I don't know. I think it's the same in all the hoot and toot masks, and the other hoot and toot masks don't really have a whole lot of value. This has some value. This is a very sought after Ben Cooper costume. Let's see, does this say when this was made? Usually they don't. Nah. It doesn't. The box, to me, it kind of looks like a 70s box, but it could be 60s. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Definitely, though, this thing originated during the space program, because that's why. So monsters, for a while, they were really big in the early 60s. Like around 61, 63. And then they kind of took a back seat because everyone was about space, the space program. And I think that Ben Cooper was trying to spin the monsters to appeal to people who are all into space. And so that was an attempt to do that. Now, can I take this costume? I wish I could show you this because it has a really nice costume. Let's see here. I don't know if I can... This costume looks like it's never been unfolded. Oh, let's see. Do I dare to unfold this costume? Here. Can you see it? All right, that's it. I'm going to put it back. Very delicate. Oh. Okay. I think that's the first time that costume has ever been unfolded. Oh, boy. All right. And then it's got something that came with it. It says WAKR Radio, Channel 11, latest news. Tracy Siebert. Oh. Listen to this. There's a note. I forgot about this. There's a note. Dear Raymond, that's me. Dear Raymond, I hope you like the costume that my daughter won from a... What is that? A radio station? While living in Akron, Ohio. I have enclosed the letter. Okay. So let's see. Is this letter have anything? It says I have enclosed the letter, but this doesn't look like a letter. Let me see what's in here. Ooh, it's got a tear in it. No, it's not really a letter. It's just kind of a certificate. So I see one thing that's a problem. It got shadow on the where the camera is. So I'm gonna have to do something about that in future episodes. See, there's a shadow right there. There's the letter. So her daughter won this in a contest, but it doesn't have a date on it. So that's interesting. So it's kind of special, and I don't know, maybe it was never worn. I'm not sure. Okay, so that's cool. But there's more. There's something in here. Let's put that there. All right. So here is another Astro Spook, and that is not the original box. I put it in this box just to protect it, but the box is an astronaut box, so I thought that was appropriate. So it's just in there, just as a way of keeping it safe. So let's take this out and see what this looks like. This one is a little different. This one's a little different. Even though this is Ben Cooper, not Collegeville, this came out of the same find that mummy sample and that sketch came out of. This is another production sample, like to see what it looks like. Like after they designed it, they want a sample. It's like, here's the finished product. This was never circulated, and it has no staples in it. There's no staple, no rubber band. It was never had any. There's no hole for the hoot and toot, but I know if this mask was issued without that hoot and toot. So that in itself is not a big deal. It's punched. The eyes are punched. Interestingly, it's got nostril holes, whereas the one that was actually the retail example that was actually sold and used, it does not have nostrils. So that's interesting. And this is just very crisp. It's obviously uncirculated, very bright. I wonder if they're the same size. Let's see here. Yeah, looks like they're about the same size, I think. I don't think there's a difference. So this is from Ben Cooper archives, and how that ended up with the Collegeville stuff. I don't know what the backstory is behind all that stuff. Was it from a collector or exactly? I'm not sure. But this is an item from the company. Is this blocking the view over here? Don't want to block the view. There we go. So this is from Ben Cooper Company Archives. It could have been something they would have taken to a trade show maybe, but I don't think so. I think it's just that once they designed the thing, they wanted to see, okay, now what does the finished product look like? And this is what they got. And they put that in storage, like, filed it away. So, I think that brings me to the end. I didn't want to drag this one out until like an hour or 2 hours or something. I wanted to keep this first show of the second season kind of short and sweet. Maybe it's too late for that, but at least it's not going to be 90 minutes. There you have two masks. Classic Ben Cooper mask, very rare, very sought. As Ben Cooper masks go, the Astro Spook is highly desirable. And there you've got actual retail example that was sold in stores, or in this case was a prize given away by a radio station. And you've also got a company sample, production sample, that would have been used internally and has never had a rubber band on it and is perfect. And then you've got the same thing with the mummy. This is a Collegeville mask. That's Ben Cooper, the Astro Spook. This is Collegeville. So the probably two biggest names in Halloween masks, Collegeville, Ben Cooper, and a little like a behind-the-scenes peek into the process of how they made these things. You saw the hand-drawn sketch, and then they'd have a final production sample to look at and say, oh yeah, we like this. Let's put this into mass production. So maybe in the future, I will have episodes where I look at several more masks from Collegeville or Ben Cooper. We'll see. You see just two masks. What I have here. Imagine if I had 20 masks. I was trying to show you all of a series. It'd be quite a mess. So I had to think about that. But for now, I hope that you enjoyed this first episode of the new season. We'll see how this new gear works out. Tell me if you like the new decor, or do you think it distracts, or I can't guarantee that I will follow your suggestions, but I want to hear them anyway. That's it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again very soon. Until then, remember, he who dies with the most toys is dead.